on to the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Pop?
Here.
We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Any changes or anything? Do I have a motion on the agenda?
I make a motion we approve the agenda. Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. We'll move on to the approving the minutes of the regular meeting of November 20th, 2017. Is there any questions on that? If not, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of November 20th, 2017.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
And then we'll move on to the approval of the manifest. Scott, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Ray, I'm looking at the building and grounds, Strawberry Lake Warming Shack. Was that ever put out on bids?
We didn't put it out on bids. We called probably 6, 7, 8 contractors, and we finally, Fuzzy Anderson said he could do it. We talked at one time here about if we can find somebody, because we were looking to do it for a year, you know, so.
Okay, another question I have on that is, so you got 1760 from him, from Fuzzy's Construction, and then you have, it is another 1,093 in materials, so is that for that same project?
Yeah, we did
So it's $2,800 just to do the fascia?
yeah, there was quite a bit of rotten wood, so it was quite a bit of work. We had them do it actually on time and material, because it was, once he got into it, it was, you know, it was,
A lot of damage.
didn't know what he was getting into.
Okay, another question I have is we have the mechanic certification renewal. How often does he have to get that renewed?
I'd have to check in on that. I'm not sure if it's an annual or a 3-year.
I'm pretty sure it's annual.
Is it annual?
It's annual?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that one's annual.
Okay. That's all I have.
Brett?
These Packerland charges, I guess, how often do we get charged for the, like, internet operations?
Those charges that you see are monthly.
Monthly?
Yeah, those, on this manifest, those are for December charges.
Okay.
Just for information, we have an agreement with Packerland that comes due here at the end of the year. So you're going to see a new agreement coming forward,
Okay.
so.
Brent, if you look, the first column, you've got the GL number. If you
Yeah.
look at the next column, Lisa kind of breaks down exactly what the charges are, a little more specific than just communications operations,
Yes.
where it says, you know, DCHS equipment rent, LaFave, you know, the internet operations, the hosting, kind of gives it a little bit more breakdown.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I don't believe so.
Lee?
Asked and answered.
All right. Jeremy?
The only, I only have a comment in that with the Packerland charges, because they're a division of my employer. I'll be abstaining on those for this evening and any that come up in the future.
Okay. Trish, will you note that? Okay, and I have no questions. Do I have a motion on the manifest?
I'll make a motion we approve manifest 2017-23 in the amount of $554,488.81.
Support.
Was that you, Brett?
Yes.
Used to, I have to look, used to sound exactly the same over there. Mr. Oja?
Yes, but abstain on the Packerland charges.
Okay. Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
If there's anyone in the audience that would like to come up and have any questions on anything on the agenda, you may do so now. If not, at the end of the meeting, there'll be a chance for public comments. We'll move on to Resolution 2017-28. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. This is the Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act. This is something that we've talked about now for the better part of 8 months, something that the state of Michigan put into effect last December, and they have until December, I believe it's 15th, then they can start, people can start applying for licenses. We've spent the better part of 6 months working at the Planning Commission, going through details, especially concerning the siting, the proper siting and zoning, for if we were to approve one or all of the 5 facilities identified in the act. We did that. We actually have an ordinance amendment proposal for the council, but in the last 2 to 3 weeks, the township did meet at their last meeting and did vote to not move forward. They are going to come in December with an official resolution, actually the same resolution that I provided you tonight. So we can have an open debate on whether or not we move forward with a zoning amendment ordinance. If you do that, you also need a police powers ordinance, or there's a resolution that I've attached, which is basically that we are not going to move forward and we're going to stay status quo. In the couple of seminars that we've been able to participate in, and the Planning Commission, some of the Planning Commission members also participated, there was some information provided by various individuals from Michigan State Extension, Michigan State Police, Drug Enforcement, and one of the provisions that they were, one of the issues that they were cautioning us on was that the state of Michigan and LARA is the licensing agency at the state that is responsible for coming up with the rules and regulations. They are way behind. Their cautionary tale is that moving forward, we would be exposing ourselves potentially legally if for lawsuits potentially, because the state rules aren't really established. So they're cautioning any community that's considering, moving forward. I think that was a big question mark on our part. I think that was the reason the township decided to not move forward. So I think that, again, I think it's a caution. Both Iron Mountain and Kingsford cities are not moving forward. Writing Township is not moving forward. So I guess I have to advise as well not to move forward, pass the resolution that I provided, which basically states that we aren't moving forward.
Is there any questions?
Are there going to be any consequences from the state for not moving forward?
There's no consequences from the state. It's totally a local control issue as per the Public Act. Again, an individual still can submit for a license. It's very similar to a liquor license in the sense that you submit. It still has to come to local law enforcement and the local council, governing board. You could take it up on a case-by-case basis. I believe there's a township in the UP that recently did that. There was a large building that was vacant. It had a investor that came forward and said, this is what we want to do for a grow. And so they took it up as a very specific case, conditional use case, and they approved that case only. And so then the license did move forward. There's some provisions within the law that says how payments are made. So if you do not move forward, then you're not eligible for any of the sales tax payments. However, that's a small calculation based on what we're seeing anyway.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Well, I've been on the Planning Commission, and I couldn't tell you how many meetings we've gone through on this. And I'll admit that first I was for this. The first notification came out on it was 62 pages worth, and I've probably read another 120 pages on it since. But now I'm against it, basically because I think things are so screwed up. Almost every article you read on this, no matter who it's put out by, they'll say, these laws create a regulation system and tax scheme that is complicated and confusing. Everybody says that, so I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm against it.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we need a motion to go ahead with what Mr. Anderson gave us.
I'll make a motion that Resolution 2017-28 be approved.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Minigini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
We'll move on to Resolution 2017-29.
This particular resolution is an annual approval from council for a joint funding agreement between the city of Norway and, the city of Norway and the Geological Survey, U.S. Geological Survey, USGS. We've been doing this every year. There's a stream gauge down on the Sturgeon River upstream from our plant, and this is the same contract price that we had last year, but so it's pretty much housekeeping. We are required by FERC.
I was just going to
have
say,
that.
we're required to have that.
Yeah.
Any questions? Otherwise, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve Resolution 2017-29 in the amount of $25,320.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Minigini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
We'll move on to the approval, USDA RD Water Sewer Project Balancing Change Order.
It's customary at the end of projects, construction projects, especially water or sewer projects and road projects, that we have a change order that, what they call balancing out the project. These projects are based on units, so as the project goes along, we pay on completed units, and when the project's all said and done, the units are balanced out, whether it's length of pipe, length of roadway, tonnage on the asphalt. The engineers spend time calculating what's actually been installed. So, Bruce, if you would like to come forward, or if you have anything you'd like to add, but this is how the change order for both projects together. Just to note that we do put the water and sewer projects together because that's how they were bid. There's two separate projects, but one contractor, so we worked with the USDA RD to have basically one contract.
Yeah, let me apologize, I sound a little froggy here, but I got a sinus drainage cough going on, so I must not be drinking enough scotch. But if you recall, we had change order number 1 a while back. That was an intermediate balancing change order. We had to adjust some quantities so Block would get paid for stuff they had in the ground, because the process is RD will not approve payment for any quantity when it goes over the amount without a change order. But like Ray said, at the end of a project, then you always have one last one to balance out all the quantities, and that's what this is. If you scrutinize the spreadsheet, you will see all the pluses and minuses that come up. And when you see the bottom line there, the water is almost minus $88,000, and the sewer is almost $109,000. Now, we have contingency line items in both these projects. So when you take the contingency and add it to that, as of right now, we've got $136,800 left in loan, excuse me, on the water project, and we've got $191,793 in grant on the sewer project. Now, there are other categories that haven't been finalized out. We may not use some of the engineering costs. we may have $3,000 left in inspection on one or the other, and that goes into contingency, and that will increase this small little bit. Those won't be known for a little while yet. So, the upside on the water side is that savings, and the way that works now is that they will give you that money, whatever it is in the end, and they will instruct you how to do this, but you will make a payment to RD, and they will take that off the principal amount. And rough calculations that I did show that you'll save close to $1,900 a year in interest payment because of that. So I guess that's the upside, is that you will save some money every year. Yeah, I'm not sure that's the exact number, but that's 1.3% savings. Unfortunately, on the other side, we're going to be giving grant money back to RD. And I know that's, looking on it now, you say, geez, it sure would be nice to have spent that. And I agree. They don't let you come up with stuff to use it on at the end of a project anymore like they used to. And you got to remember that cost for this project was put together back in 2010, 2011. They were finalized, and then we take bids, and we have no knowledge of where we were headed with costs in the end. Even as we went through the project, there were times when we weren't sure where we were at. Asphalt sometimes can go over because there's a lot of money in asphalt, and you can go over by a quarter of an inch here and there. So you're tenuous because you don't want to get the city out on a limb with being short. If I was standing up here saying, hey, we did the final numbers, and you guys got to come up with 200 grand, you wouldn't be very happy about that either. So it's kind of tough, and we don't have the flexibility with the program. When you get down the road to say, gee, it looks like we have money left, can we buy this or buy that or do this block? That's the way it used to work. So it's just the way it is. So really can't do anything about it. That's about 16.5% of the total grant. Back to RD. And the philosophy nationally is that there are other communities looking for help, just like you did. And the grant funds have been significantly reduced over the years. And now there's some money for another community to have. That's the big picture, plus that, I guess. So I don't know if there's any more questions. If you have any questions exactly on the quantities in there, that's a really detailed spreadsheet, but it's all there. Bachos agreed to the numbers, they signed the change order. So what's going to happen next is we're going to have a payment request 2 weeks from now on this project. And it's going to show everything being paid except $10,000 in retainage, which I think Ray's communicated with you as part of his things in your packet. And if you have any questions on that, we can talk about it. But that is to, should have brought a cough drop. But that is to cover, we had a punch list item, we had a punch list of 5 items that was attached to the certificate of substantial completion. Some of those can't be done till spring. We think that's plenty money for a little couple things that have to be done. And anything else is in a warranty.
Ray, do you feel that 10,000 is enough to cover these items? Are you comfortable with that figure?
I'm very comfortable with that. We took a ride, our first initial inspection was slowed up because of snow, and then we took a ride on a 45-degree day, so, you know, it kind of gave us a chance to go through on each street, and typically, you know, this retainage amounts are really for restoration, you know, things that we didn't think that they get done right, or if they didn't come back, we would have to fix. But
that's a little, there was a couple other minor items on that list. Apparently, you know, apparently that when they were doing the retaining wall over by,
Gail Raskis' house.
yeah, they were doing that, they took out that retaining wall, put in that stone. Apparently, I don't know the details, a window got broken, I think in her house, and they gotta fix it. They haven't done it yet. Josh wasn't sure what it was all about, actually, but he had it on the list. So there's a couple real minor things like that.
The items we noticed are not gonna rise to the level. I mean, 10,000 is a good number.
I don't think there's $5,000 worth of stuff there.
Yeah.
So the next pay estimate you see will pay everything but $10,000 in retainage, then we'll sit till spring. And when everything's good on that list and we're all set, then there'll be one last pay estimate for the 10 grand. Then the projects can be closed out. So this whole money thing with RD does not happen until then.
Any questions for Bruce? Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, thanks.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve USDA RD water sewer project balancing change order in the amount of negative $196,749.26.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brute?
Yes. We'll move on to the approval of the City of Norway Health and Safety Program.
Yeah, this last item on the agenda is something, early in the year, we talked about, especially when we have annually, we have the MEUW contract, come up. There was some questions on what we were actually working on and the questions on the program. And we spent the better part of the year, providing information to council, about the program and what we were doing. One of the items that, or one of the major work items that we've been on this year is updating our policy, our personnel, or our safety manual, just for simple, it's called safety manual, but it's policies and procedures within the operational structure for safety. Just a background history, when I started with the city, back 99, it was one of the areas, coming out of the private sector, is one of the areas that I noticed we needed to work on. We have done, in 17 years, we have done a number of different iterations on trying to address this issue. One of the keys is that the council then approves whatever we come up with, and we've struggled with doing it in-house. I would say back about 6 years ago or so, we finally said, look, we have to come up with a better way to try and get a handle on this, and so the MEUW did step up. We contacted them, actually. We contacted WPPI first and said, hey, we got 51 communities. Can we do something in a cooperative effort? They did not have a structure to deal with it, but they turned us over to the MEUW, which is another partner of ours through WPPI, and we were able to work out a program. So we have 6 communities within our, under Mike Martin's control, or Mike Martin's responsibilities. It's us and Gladstone, Crystal Falls, Stevenson, Florence, and Eagle River. Did I say it right? Okay. So anyway, long story short is when we first started with MEUW, we made a decision we had to get our training up to speed first. So there was a lot of effort on the training, getting our training records up, doing the training classes. Once we got through that, then the safety committee, under Mike's leadership, started working on the actual programs. So tonight, we thought it would be a good time, because the contract is actually something that's coming up this month, and into the next meeting, we're going to be talking about that. I thought this would be a good time to lay this out, because we did say that by the end of the year, we were going to have progress towards the manual, and the safety committee did. So we have our general progress safety program manual. We have the safety health general rules and best work practices, alcohol and substance abuse policy, hazardous communication, bloodborne pathogens, and respiratory protection. There might be some overlap in the personnel manual that we had approved about 7 years ago. We're going to then take some of this and review it against that personnel manual, but we wanted to bring this out in front of council and get approval, or ask questions, and if you want us to work on something, we can obviously work on it, so.
Any questions?
I have no questions. I looked through it. Is this basically just to stay equal with OSHA policy, or is this for the city more so than OSHA?
Well, I think it conforms to OSHA, my OSHA policy, but I think it's something that makes a lot of sense. And this is something that we actually, you know, a lot of this is in concert with Wisconsin as well. But we have to make sure we follow my OSHA rules when we do this. But again, I mean, it's just, there's a lot of good common sense, a lot of good safety for the, you know, the culture is that we want our employees to be safe. We want proper work rules, and so we have to look at it that way. It's not just the CYA to deal with OSHA or my OSHA.
And as I look through it, it's just very vague. It's very broad. A lot of the safety, especially in safety, health, and general rules. Is there going to be additions or changes as you go forward with it?
You can expand on it, you can make it more specific, especially in areas where we need to be more specific, if there's not enough clarity, definitely.
That's part of something that, with the general rules, that's normal. Your general rules are usually vague. They're vague because they cover so many things, but then we expand on those in other programs. So there will be expansion on a lot of these things that you're seeing. It's just to get those general rules out there to make sure that we're covering everybody. You know, we've got something in place, and then we take from there and we'll grow it that way and expand it if we need to.
Okay.
Any other questions? We would need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the City of Norway Health and Safety Program.
Support.
Mr. Minigini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
At this time, anyone wishing to address the council could do so now. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, Brandon Hudson, N1908 Summit Road, over by the water tower towards the ski hill. I was wondering about the property next door to me. He basically had 2 years to build. No building has been made. And I was told that the property goes back to the city after 2 years of not building. And I would like to purchase that property if I'm able to.
Was that the lot that was sold for 6,000, or am I in the wrong area?
Probably. Right
It's one
next to the water tower.
Right next to, okay.
Yeah.
He has till March.
I'll say, okay, I'm gonna say, yeah, on that.
So, because I got the meeting here that on YouTube in November of 2014, that you said that there was a 3-year extension, and that was...
Brandon, if you want to stop by the office, I looked it up. He has till March.
Okay.
But yeah, stop by.
That's Lefebvre that still owns that?
Huh?
Is that Lefebvre?
Well, it's Lonnie.
Lefebvre had the property. He went 5 years, 5 houses. He came back after 6 years and asked for an extension
Yeah.
to sell more property. The next day, he sold the property after you guys gave him the extension. The next day, Lonnie comes in, buys that property. So, I mean, you guys missed out on the $6,000 right there. That could have been yours. So he got a 3 years extension, Joel Lefebvre did. And now, right before his extension came up again, the property across the street from me is now sold too. And you guys decided that both, or the person could buy both the lots and build one house. So.
Come by and we'll take a look
I'll
at
be back
the...
in March,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can, yeah.
because he ain't gonna build.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to council comments.
No comments.
Lee?
Yeah, I got a couple little comments here. Our Christmas parade was, I thought, very nice. Of course, the weather helped. It was 37, 38 degrees, no wind. The fireworks were great as usual. And I'd like to give a big thank to the local businesses that participated in the parade, especially the floats. Again, Steve Tinty Law Firm had a nice float. The Crossroads Alliance did. And our newest business in town, the Norway Veterinary Clinic. And that's all I have.
Brett?
Have nothing.
Scott?
Ray, I got a question about that. How are we looking on that property up by Hillcrest? Are we any further with that, or?
What I did was, after I gave it to everybody, I didn't hear back any comments whether we should move forward or not move forward, but there were no negative comments, so if you want us to move forward, what we did was we asked Jeremy Pipp to give us a price on finishing up the actual survey work. So that's where we're at.
I'm just looking out there, real estate's going pretty quick right now.
I mean, is that okay for everybody, the way it was laid out? You know, that's the biggest question is, because then now we'll finalize it if that is.
Yeah.
That's good.
It looked good.
I liked it.
Yeah, most of it was 4.2, 4.5.
Yeah.
It's just pretty straightforward, you know, and we have an area in the middle for right-of-way so that we can travel through and then get the back lots.
All those other maps in there, Ray, a lot of them were in the township. It didn't really say if these lots were sold or not. Are they?
Yeah, those are all sold.
They're for sale.
No, they were all sold.
Oh, they were all sold?
Yes, those are all
Okay.
comparables with sold.
Okay, I have another question, is our last meeting, when we were talking about the school safety and all that stuff that's going on up there, one of the things was mentioned about a handheld radar. My question is can a police officer be outside of the cop car and use that handheld radar? Is that, I thought somebody had said that's encroachment, or it's something if the police isn't in the cop car.
That is a judicial question.
Okay.
Though I'm not a judge or in a judicial position, generally speaking, the first thing the judge will ask is were you in a properly marked police vehicle? I don't have a specific case or statute to say yay or nay on it, but I think we've talked about officers not hiding in the bushes and kind of doing the speed traps, if you will. I know that there's been some concern or some requests to have handheld radars and be incognito or in places outside of vehicles. It's certainly something I can look a little bit deeper into, but I generally believe, if I remember correctly, you have to be in a marked vehicle.
So you can't be parked down the road and stand up on the corner and...
Well, generally, I think it presents a few different issues. I think I don't have a firm yea or nay answer, and I don't want to talk in circles on it, but the bigger issue is the handheld radar gun, first of all. You have calibration issues, you have issues with, interference, and there's technical issues that go into making sure you have the proper radar in and of itself. It's something that I think would be, if the council wants to look further into the handheld radar, it's something to look into and discuss further, but I don't have a straight answer on the whole police vehicle. I believe, my general understanding is you have to be in a marked police vehicle.
Okay.
But that might not be true either, so I don't want to give a firm, without looking into the case law or looking into a statute, to say absolutely yes or no.
Another thing I have with that safety thing up there is, would it be possible to, we're trying to think of things that we could do, put in a stoplight up there at that intersection, where you can't turn right on red if you're coming up in front of the school, coming into the parking lot, just to have one general stoplight instead of having a blinking stop sign at everything. That'd probably be a little bit cheaper, or else maybe looking into making those couple streets a one-way going into the school parking lot, and maybe talk with the school and see if they would like to follow with it and have the parking lot a one-way direction too. You know, see if we can get some kind of public input on that, what, you know, because that would have to be a public hearing, wouldn't it, if we want to make that one-way streets? Or would that be just up to
Well,
us?
it's a traffic control order, and I mean, we have 100% jurisdiction on that corner, so we wouldn't, if we wanted to put a street light there, unless legal says we can't, I know usually when we're dealing with our own jurisdiction, we can just pretty much move forward with a traffic control order. One-way streets, lighting, signing, you know, those types of things. So it really doesn't mandate a public hearing. It's a good idea to have a public hearing, but it doesn't mandate you do. It's just a resolution, traffic control order.
Now, if we do the one-way, we're talking about getting, what is that, Walnut or whatever that's up there, we're trying to get that reclassified or something? So that would affect that, so we're not gonna have the grant from that.
Well, actually, it would positively affect it, because if you have one-way traffic, you would increase the width for parking. Because you would be down to one lane, and then you would be 2 parking lanes.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I was
at
just
least
thinking of
pushing
maybe the one-way, switching a couple of those streets to one-way is coming up. What is that? Is it Fourth that comes up in front of it? Where the buses park there at 10-2? That area is kind of, you know, because you got the buses parked there, and if you're going up the hill, the little kids just dart out in between the buses, running to mom and dad on the other side of the street. Even if you're going 15 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, it's still gonna hurt. So I just wonder if there's something we could do, looking into that.
That's probably a more dangerous street than the intersection.
Yeah.
I agree with that too. That should be, you know, something that we
Grant,
look into.
on traffic control orders, can we classify directional requirements on a street for periods of time?
Between 8 and 4 PM, and I think because it's under our control, I think that's a possibility, but I can just imagine the chaos or the misunderstandings that could arise from making streets one way from the hours of,
Certain
7
hours.
until 10 and from 3 until 4.
Well, the backside of that school is one-way, it's two-way after 7 o'clock, or after 4 o'clock, I think it is.
After a certain time, yeah.
After a certain time, you can go in the back and go up the hill, but now that's on school property, so I don't know if we have a say on that. No, it's okay.
Right.
But that seems to work good.
Yeah, I don't even know where it starts, where you could go both ways in the parking lot.
It's technically right when you pull in the parking lot, it says one way, but I know when high school traffic leaves, they'll leave, would be to the north, and nobody really goes the other way because the buses all load on the other side, so that's why the school doesn't really say too much about people traveling that way through there. But there would be that issue of, then you have all that high school traffic at 3:15 going by buses that are loading if they were to follow the one-way.
And the elementary school.
And the elementary school. And that end of the building is just as congested, if not more congested, than back behind the high school.
Yeah. Oh, I was just throwing out ideas out there. That's all I have.
But we can continue our evaluation, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was gonna comment on that too. I think we gotta look into some things to see what we can do with the traffic flow in that there too.
I mean, maybe on that, if we make that one way, what is it that comes down and goes straight into the parking lot off at US 2? What is that?
Chestnut.
You know, if we were to make that a one-way, would we be able to, before you get to the intersection, put a speed bump out before they come into the parking lot?
I was
If we had
told,
one-way?
I was told we can't have that type of traffic calming device in a public right-of-way,
Okay,
alleys and streets.
okay. But you'd be able to put, oh, that would be up to the school, yeah. And that would probably start to affect with the buses going over a speed bump or something every single day. That's all I have.
And I also had a comment on the Christmas parade. It was beautiful for a little town like this. It was really nice to see all the kids out, and whoever organized that parade, which I don't know who did a wonderful job. Does anybody know who organized that?
We have an unofficial group that helps line people up, while he's asking.
Always asking.
He's down there and he doesn't, I've asked him if he'd officially do it and he said no. But he does a great job and there's a number of them and they're just used to doing it. And everybody is, just fall in line, that it really works well. I've been down there a few times, driving Santa, and I will admit it's probably the one time that everybody's waving and happy to see me as opposed to most of the other times.
And the fire department also did a very nice job on
Yeah,
the fireworks.
beautiful fireworks.
The only thing wrong with the whole works is, it's a shame there aren't more businesses on Main Street to be open.
The DDA was a major sponsor of they sponsored the Christmas parade, so shout outs to the Downtown Development Authority.
Okay. Grant, any questions?
No, thank you.
Mary, Trish? Ray?
I have nothing further.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.